Hello and welcome to episode 34 of the Rollo and Slappy Show. Today is April 10th, 2017. I am Rollo McFlugel, and with me is Slappy Jones 2, and we are both at McFlugel.com. The show notes page for this episode is McFlugel.com/34. So with that, I'll hand it over to Slappy, and he's going to introduce our topic for tonight.
Yeah, so sadly, last Thursday, we all got the news that the United States launched a bunch of cruise missiles or Tomahawk missiles into Syria to hit an air base. Of course, this is from the president who, for the last several years, was warning we'll say warning Obama not to do it. It would be foolish. It's a mistake. We have no business being in Syria. Do not bomb them. President Obama, do not attack Syria. There's no upside and tremendous downside. Save your power for another and more important day. You know, he had several tweets to that effect over the last couple of years. In fact, some libertarians were saying, yeah, Trump's an awful guy. We don't like him. But he does say he's anti-war, so that could be an improvement over the last several, maybe all our presidents. But of course, he gets in, and it doesn't take too long to start throwing bombs, launching bombs into another country. So this could have some repercussions. And Rollo, what are your thoughts? What is the reaction you saw to the bombing?
Well, I mean, it's just an air base.
Oh, true, right.
So, I mean, it's not like they were, targeting any civilians or anything. So I don't see what the big deal is, right?
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us this week.
Yeah. No, that's actually responses I've heard, and I don't understand it at all, other than that's just a display of cognitive dissonance. Because you know that there's, even coming from the non-libertarian anarchist perspective of that, there is a place for war in the world and everything. Why it doesn't even make sense. What interest in the United States is there in Syria? There's a great meme where it has a picture of Mr. Garrison from South Park, and it has a picture of the map of the U.S. and it says, "Show us on the map where Syria touched you."
Yeah, Syria's. I don't even know how to play devil's advocate there, because I don't know what Syria has ever done to the United States, and this may be ignorant on my part, but definitely nothing recently.
Right.
And I don't see how they're a threat. They're fighting a civil war. And it's against Al-Qaeda and Assad, and ISIS is involved. And it doesn't seem like there's really a good guy or a guy to help. So I don't see why they decided to do this. I don't see what benefit they get out of it. I see some people who might benefit from it, but I don't see why it would be in the interest of the United States.
Sure. So then normally what the response you got next is that, okay, well, maybe there aren't any direct American interests there, but did you see the kids?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. What about all the little girls who were killed by this gas attack? Which is funny, because do they even know what happened with that?
No, I guarantee you they don't.
I haven't seen anything where I saw a story that the Russians said, yeah, Assad's army did it, but they hit maybe an ammunition warehouse, and there was some gas in there that leaked out. I didn't see anywhere that said Assad dropped the bomb to kill his own people, when it appeared that he was pretty much winning from what I read. He was in a good spot. It doesn't really make sense for him to make the rest of the world angry with the gas attack, which, just by the way, and maybe you can actually help me out here, but what is it about a gas attack that is so much worse than any other attack? The United States admitted, the military admitted that they killed about 200 civilians in Mosul not too long ago, because they were dropping bombs on a position where a ISIS sniper was located, but they killed all these civilians, innocent children, women, and that just gets pushed aside like, oh, that's collateral damage. But then how many people died in the gas attack? 50 something or 80 or something? Not that was
it that much? I thought it was in the teens.
I don't know, but not that the number really those to those lives, to those families, it doesn't matter if it's 10. That's a big loss. We shouldn't be killing innocent civilians, but the fact that this means war, but then when the United States drops bombs in Iraq and kills 200 civilians, that's just collateral damage. We're the good guys.
I guess the reason that there's a difference between, a gas attack like that versus conventional bombings or guns is that it's. I say this, how I feel, but it's less humane. There's a better way of saying it. I mean, when a sarin attack, I'm pretty sure there's a HF acid gets produced, and when a sarin goes off, and there's no evidence that this actually looks like it was not sarin as the chemical that was hurt these people in this attack, but there were sarin attacks in Syria 4 years ago.
I guess a better way for me to frame what I was saying is, why are the gas attacks bad but the bombs aren't? I get why the gas attacks are bad. We don't want them. And I've read a lot about World War I, and there was some gases used in World War I. It was pretty brutal, and the soldiers could say they could just see it coming across the battlefield, and then once it gets you, you're done. So, of course, I don't want gas attacks, but I don't want bomb attacks either. So I guess that's the point of what I'm saying, is not why are gas attacks bad, but why aren't bombs bad?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And by the way, I thought it was a rhetorical question you're asking me, not that, in case anyone was questioning that. I don't know, because you're killing people, and it's pretty bad either way. Is it? Yeah, if you just, I don't know, gave everyone a shot of nitrogen, and they took a breath, and they passed out, and then they died seconds after that.
Right, would that be okay?
Right. No, that's pretty bad. I mean, I guess it's marginally less evil, because you're not intending, they're not suffering horribly,
right.
as if you're breathing in HF acid, which is just melts your insides, basically. It's.
So if you kill them humanely, then you're a good guy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently. I just don't think people care or realize or understand, and when you bring it up, it's like it doesn't even register in their heads. Like, they're talking about, and also, in case you're unaware of it, there's a lot of evidence that says Assad didn't launch this attack. You already mentioned that. I'm getting confused.
Right.
But it doesn't, like, Occam's razor says that it probably wasn't him, and there's a reasonable explanation of how it could have happened. So it
just seems weird to me that this president, who was so anti going into Syria, outspoken about it for the last, at least since 2013, when the last gas attack happened. If you want to talk about that, feel free. But he never even mentioned in any way going into Syria in the last 4 years that I'm aware of. It was the exact opposite. And then it doesn't take long at all. The second something happens, don't even find out answers, just go bomb. And now we'll see what happens. Apparently, Russia's obviously not happy about it. Iran wasn't happy about it. Syria is not happy about it. And what good came from that? Revenge? I was very upset on Thursday.
Yeah, as was I. And it's funny because, not funny, but it's interesting because you would think that, no, I wasn't even surprised that Trump went back on his word, because, we were both calling it, that for all the people,
of course,
all the people that were saying, oh, Trump's, he's got a chance, he's going to be good. It's like, yeah, but you're going to be disappointed. Can't tell you how many times I said, oh yeah, go ahead and hold your breath for Trump to do anything good. But it is especially frustrating to see someone. It's not even like it was a little bit like, I don't know if we should go into Syria. It was like, absolutely, you are an idiot for even considering going into Syria. Absolutely not. Let's stop with this regime change. It doesn't work.
It just shows you who's really. We have one party rule in the United States, and it shows you who's running the show. If there was ever an outsider to win the presidency, it was probably Donald Trump. But Rollo and I, not to say I told you so, but he's right. We were against Trump the whole way. We never had a little bit of hope for Trump. It's just sad.
Right, and it's one thing, and with the repeal of Obamacare, because that was really two of the big things he ran on was repealing Obamacare and then not being such a warmonger. And the repealing Obamacare, I mean, I was expecting him to renege on both. Repealing Obamacare was kind of like, yeah, well, okay, I was expecting that. With this, I was like you were saying, I was really upset about it.
Right.
It really, and it showed me that my disdain for politicians, I don't really like any of them. I could say that is almost a completely true rule because, they steal from everyone. They, violate the non-aggression principle, all the basic libertarian stuff. But the warmongers are the ones that just absolutely disgust me. And I just have so much disdain for them that if you said, hey, would you have a beer with this guy or eat lunch with him, my blood would boil just from being so close to the fire emanating from hell where they came from. Like it would, I can't even put it into words how horrible I think they are. Whereas someone like a Tulsi Gabbard, who's been very anti-war and outspoken and done a great job on trying to bring a message of, hey, we're doing bad stuff in the Middle East. I'm sure everything else, every other policy that she has is absolutely against what I believe, but the fact that she's trying to not go out and kill people, I would actually not be under a lot of distress or anger by being standing next to her. So same thing with like a Dennis Kucinich, who's an outspoken socialist, but doesn't like going around killing people. So
yeah, that's a good start.
Yeah, so I mean that's someone that I can. It's not that I just you just hate politicians because they're politicians. Not really.
So if John McCain is listening and wants to give you a call to hang out, you're not going to take that call?
Oh, is he pro-war or something?
He might be.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, to defend Trump at all, or for Trump to defend himself, look at who's supporting him through this. It's Hillary Clinton, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Billy Crystal, Marco Rubio, just complete establishment people. So Mr. I'm going to drain the swamp and the establishment's the problem and everything, they are loving you for this right now. So that should send signals. But, of course it doesn't, and no one cares about that or acknowledges it.
The funny thing is, it's not, again, not funny, but it would not shock me if the Republicans, the John McCain types, are blaming Obama for the United States having to bomb Syria.
I think Trump did.
Did he really?
Yeah, he said it was because Obama. This is the great thing. Because Obama was weak or something, or didn't do what he had to do in Syria. So, like, when you were, as it was happening, you were saying, absolutely don't go into Syria. But now you should have gone into Syria. So it doesn't, it's such a hypocrisy, such a flip-flop. And I actually do blame Obama for a lot of it because he was arming the terrorists. Well, but it's funny that they blame him for the completely wrong thing. They blame him for something he actually didn't completely mess up. He at least didn't explicitly from the United States launch a war, but he was fighting a proxy war. But, I mean, I guess it's not as bad. I'm trying to give him credit. It's impossible. It's impossible to give these people credit, even when I'm trying to find it. There's always something that they just did that's absolutely disgusting, one way or the other. Go ahead.
So what do you think happens from here? Because for the last several years, you and I both have said our foreign policy makes the United States less safe. So do you think that by going into Syria, it makes us less safe? What do you think the response will be, or what has it been that you have seen?
From just general people?
General people, news, Russia.
Oh,
Russia is working with Assad, correct?
yeah. I mean, I don't want to
I
start a
mean,
war with Russia. I mean, how's starting World War III with Russia a remotely good
going to
thing?
help anything.
It's
Or
like
now I know they, or what I read is they. Well, I don't know. Did any civilians die in this attack?
not that more. I heard there were 7 people. I assume they were Syrian military or something.
Yeah. It's certainly not going to make any friends in Syria. Maybe a few. I know they put some guy up on CNN who was Syrian who was saying how great it is that the United States is finally doing anything. But I think there's going to be a lot more who are not happy with bombs dropping in their country.
Right. Well, I mean, if you look around and see the result of all the other countries in the area of dropping bombs in there and taking the leadership out and engaging in regime change, it's like every single time it's been an absolute disaster. So, and that's even if you assume that the United States leadership had good intentions in this, which they don't, and they've been lying us in the war. So if they can't be honest about why we're going to war, then that's not a good sign. But even if you say that, well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, it's still an absolute disaster. They can't. They're incapable. No one's capable of doing it. It's just a bad idea. So the one good thing, though, is I think there are people kind of waking up. I was talking to some people today, and for the most part, they kind of understood the problem and were recognized that there's no reason to go bombing here. And what's American bombs? How is the fact that it's going to be the U.S. killing people
any better than anyone else?
Right.
But and now this is 4 years ago. But in 2013, when it happened, the response from the American public was very good. I thought,
Right.
because I think that did prevent the United States from going into Syria.
Right. Which opening your mouth and putting it does actually have some effects.
It can. Yeah, it can. So, anything else to add on Syria?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We will be making predictions, but I don't. I hope maybe this is maybe not a prediction, but more of a hope that maybe this was just Trump trying to flex his muscles and trying to look. This proves I'm not a puppet for Putin because I just bombed his ally. And
yeah, hopefully it comes out that Putin told him to do it and said it's cool, just bomb this thing. It gets everyone off your back.
Right.
And we just go on. We'll make a big scene. You make a big scene. We'll all act tough, and then we'll call it a day.
Because I mean, the last thing we need is
another war.
Yeah.
With anyone.
Right.
But yeah, so both of us don't think we should have done that. We being the United States.
Yeah. So, with that, do you have a free market story to close the episode out?
Yeah, maybe. So, was it yesterday? A couple days ago? Maybe it was yesterday. United Air flight. Some guy got dragged off the flight. And a friend at work who kind of knows how I feel about the state came in and said, "See what your private companies do." So it looks like a bad mark on the free market. If we leave it up to the free market to police, they'll be dragging people off planes. But and as awful as that was, and as poorly handled as it was handled, I did read an article that it was the police who took him off, by the way, not United Air. Although United Air asked him to leave, he wouldn't leave. He refused to leave. We could go into a property rights thing and say it's their plane, and whatever the contract was when he bought the ticket, there was probably something in the fine print that nobody ever reads that says if the flight is overbooked, you may be asked to leave the plane and you're required to do so with compensation or whatever they do. Although I don't know that for a fact. I
have no idea.
But lawyers figure out everything. There's no way that that wouldn't be in there. So anyway, what does it mean for the free market? Well, if you don't like what happened, who does? You can choose not to use that company. If you don't like the way they police their plane or use security in their plane, you don't have to use them. You're not forced to. You can travel a different way. You could choose not to fly. when the state does something like that, because there's no shortage of videos out there where the police are tasing people, shooting people, dragging people, hitting people with batons. You have no option. You have to use them. If you don't, you go to jail, meaning pay for them, pay your taxes. So if there's a positive spin for the free market here is that's a black eye for United. They don't want it. The CEO has apologized. It also probably doesn't represent the entire company. It may just be one person, or it may not be the company at all. But what do you think? Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't know what the rules are for that and everything, but I mean, it was obviously a horrible, horrible way to handle it.
It's
I saw
probably the
someone,
worst possible way to handle it, actually.
I saw someone tweeting it out. I think it was a tweet. They said, for the another $1,000 they could have offered someone to, step off the flight. It's probably would have been worth it to do that than the millions of dollars they're going to have to, lose in revenue.
Right, if they offer you like
the guy
$800, right? Just up the offer until someone takes it.
And then the other thing I saw was another tweet. Was that it was actually funny. It was two tweets side by side, and it was called. The guy labeled it "free market versus regulation," and the one tweet was someone saying, "I wonder who the first airline is going to be that ends the practice of overbooking," which is one of the free market outcomes is that hey, something like this happened, and maybe it's not. I assume that overbooking isn't this horrible, terrible practice. It's just this execution of handling and overbooking was bad. But maybe that's enough for an airline to say, hey, we're not going to engage in this practice anymore, or here's the rules and here's how we're going to handle it and blah, blah, blah. And then the other tweet next to it was someone saying, I wonder what congressman's going to enact the law or push a bill that says that overbooking is illegal.
Yeah,
so I'd much rather have the airlines decide how they're going to handle overbooking and booking their planes than the government try to manage it. Can you imagine the government trying to? It's confusing enough having the market trying to handle, and it's not just the market. There's already regulation and government in there, I'm sure.
In airlines, yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, it's confusing enough with tickets, but can you imagine the government managing booking a plane? Oh my goodness.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with overbooking a plane, especially because people don't go on their flights. And the worst thing an airline can do is have empty seats on a flight. It's expensive to fly for a lot of reasons. So they overbook them, assuming people are going to cancel. When people don't cancel, then they figure it out and they compensate you. Maybe not enough, obviously, but the offer's there. When I was in college, I was flying home from Indiana. And the flight was overbooked, and I got off it and they gave me a free flight and a couple bucks, and I was in college, so $200 was wonderful.
Right.
I took it and I got a free flight the next time I went home. I was delayed for 4 hours because I had to wait for the next flight. But of course I volunteered. They didn't drag me off the plane.
Yeah, my brother does it where he kind of gambles a little bit with it, or hold delay. I mean, when he hears that we're overbooked and we're gonna offer you money and stuff, he in his mind he goes, all right, I'm going to take it, but he waits until he feels like he's maxed out on the offer before someone else is going to take it before he can get it. So
yeah. So anyway,
it's something that happens all the time. So, and I don't mean to be, when I suggested that maybe they end the practice, it's a complete guess on my part. I'm not in the airline business. I'm not and maybe by any means an expert. Right. It'd be curious. I trust the market to solve this problem if it's something that I don't think it's a problem necessarily of the practice of overbooking. I think it's more just a problem with
it was the way they handled that situation.
Right.
Like you said, upping the offer would have been a good way.
Right.
Everyone's got a price.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you go up, someone's going to bite.
Yep.
It would have been a lot better than the bad press they got, for sure.
Oh, yeah. But then you get the people that, what happens if no one does it at all? And I guess you're going to sit there on the tarmac forever. I don't know.
Right.
There's a solution to every problem. And I don't think that dragging a guy off a plane is really ever... Dragging a guy who's just sitting there
Well, it's obviously not the best, but the whole point in this is bad for United.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody is defending them. Nobody thinks this was a good way to handle it.
Right.
But the good news is you don't have to use them if you don't want,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to change. They're going to. I'll bet you this doesn't happen at United again.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course it could happen next week, and then I'll be wrong.
Yeah.
But they're going to take this very serious, and they're going to do training, and they're going to make sure it doesn't happen again because they need to attract customers. Whereas when the state does something, the TSA never gets complaints, right?
Right.
The police departments, and we've all seen the bad videos. What do? They come out and say the police officer was correct.
Yep.
Always. They never are there for the customer because they don't need to be, because you're forced to use them. So they don't have to do what's right for the customer, whereas United does. So you'll probably see a good response. You'll probably see a lot of friendly commercials and the ways they're changing their policies, and that'll all be coming out in the next couple months.
Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, I don't follow United at all. I don't think I've ever taken a flight with them, maybe once, but I'm not aware of any other problems. It's probably an isolated incident.
Right.
So, I don't think we need to necessarily boycott at United or something.
No, but if you want to, go for it.
Right. That's absolutely. So, all right. I think that about wraps it up for this week. Thanks for listening. Show notes page again is mcflugel.com/34, where you will find links to ways to subscribe to the podcast, which include iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. Also, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And subscribe to our email list. And also on the show notes page, I added a link to the Tom Woods episode from this past Friday where we had Scott Horton on the show, who was excellent, by the way, on foreign policy to talk about Trump bombing Syria, and you kind of get their perspective on it. And Scott Horton is like a encyclopedia on foreign policy, so he's always excellent to listen to.
Yeah, he's got a book coming out on Afghanistan.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it, and I want to read it.
Yep, same here.
So, all right. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.